About 5 to 6 years ago, we had contributed the block storage subsystem to Linux. It's called Linux IO, LIO for short, and which was becoming an industry standard at the time. It was getting picked up by a number of people, Pure Storage, for instance, Google actually, for instance, as well. But what we noticed for most of them, they took what we contributed and obviously a bunch of other software and replaced proprietary software with less proprietary software and called it software-defined. We thought they missed the point. We thought software-defined is really about changing the operational model from an infrastructure-centric model to a service-centric model. And we used our software to do exactly that. And that was the founding vision of Datera. We call Datera a data services platform because it really is a multi-protocol platform that is extensible, both on protocol levels. We started with block, with Elastic Block Storage, and Amazon-like, or better than Amazon, arguably Elastic Block Storage. We now added object with this release, and obviously there's more data services to come that allow to float, so to speak, on top of the underlying data plane. Yeah, the promise of software-defined storage, of course, is to really simplify operations in a data center, to allow the software-defined data center and be a foundation for that, the data foundation for that. Unfortunately, software-defined storage has disappointed along a couple of lines. Number one, typically performance. It's just, if you want to replace sophisticated existing arrays, hardware arrays, with software, you can't just take an existing Linux kernel and put a thin veneer of software on top of it and expect enterprise-grade performance. So as we contributed a lot of the block storage subsystem to Linux, we know the entire data path down to the physical devices. So we deliver enterprise-grade performance. That's number one. The second problem is that the other software-defined storage, most software-defined storage, is very prescriptive about the type of hardware that you can deploy after you deployed your first server. So the software you start with, or the hardware you start with, is typically the hardware you're stuck with. We engineered the system from ground up to make sure that that doesn't happen. In our case, you can change hardware vendors, hardware types, all-flash, hybrid arrays, types of media as you go. As your needs change, as the hardware capabilities change, and as the application mix changes, you can continuously just add the hardware that you need just when you need it. And lastly, and I think this is the most important part, it's all about automation. The software-defined data center is about automation. At scale, manual, high-touch administration just doesn't work. And so we put a lot of effort into being able to orchestrate all this software at massive scale. To summarize, the important differentiators for us are enterprise performance, future-ready choice because you can mix and match hardware as you go, and application-driven orchestration of data across the data center and across multiple data centers and ultimately the cloud. In addition to that, we actually also made sure that we have a very extensible system that can not only orchestrate the data within the system, but also the data center around the system. So we're becoming increasingly aware of the data center itself, and we can adapt to what's happening there. And I would say no one else does that. And this is why customers love us, because it's not just a point solution, it's a comprehensive foundation for the software-defined data center. Look at photos, and let me take the example of Google here. If you look at photos from Google data centers, you'll probably notice one thing. They're empty. There's no one in those data centers, okay? That probably means they're highly automated, okay? And as Google has been a quite successful company, and they're delivering infrastructure, they know how to deliver infrastructure better than just anyone else, I think we should take a page from what they learned, from what they know, and really come to realize that automation is really where it's at, okay? High-touch human labor at scale, at massive data center scale, just doesn't work. And because the public cloud eliminated that, mostly it put traditional IT under immense pressure. That's what we're seeing right now. Now, the cloud is not about location. The cloud is about that exact kind of automation. And it's now coming out of the public cloud that pioneered this, and it's going more and more into all those other more traditional data centers, and they're really profoundly changing along those lines. So the public cloud is wonderful because it's very easy to get started. You don't need CapEx, it's all OpEx. You pay as you go, okay? The problem with it, however, is, yes, it's cheap to fail, but it's expensive to succeed. And as those people start scaling themselves, and they basically utilize the infrastructure continuously, it turns out that an OpEx model actually is surprisingly expensive, okay? So now they're realizing they really like the kind of automation, the simplicity, the choice, the ease that they get in the public cloud, but they would like to take that and bring that back increasingly to their existing environments at a much better cost point. And that's why we're seeing, to some extent, a balance, an equilibrium evolving between the public cloud and the private cloud. The public cloud is great for some companies, maybe at a certain scale, and the private cloud certainly is good for other companies at different scale. So as we provide the data foundation for clouds at a wide range of scale, and we do this very intelligently, just about everyone who builds a cloud at even modest scale and up from there can immensely benefit from Datera, because we will manage the data across multiple servers, across different hardware vendors, across different media types, across the data center, across multiple sites, and ultimately across multiple clouds. So this complete, deep, very rich data automation is what simplifies cloud deployments immensely, and that's what we're looking for. That's what customers are looking for. Sorry, I'll say this again. And that's what customers are looking for. Okay. Well, up front, I would say we are not for everyone, right? But many enterprises have looked at a strategy of how they can lift workloads into the cloud. And they're starting increasingly realizing, especially for primary workloads, that they have to bring the cloud to themselves. Okay? So, and now, hang on, I need to, what was the other point, Chris, that you said? Sorry. On top of that, as opposed to the public cloud, existing enterprises have a very heterogeneous environment. They could have anything from bare metal, from Oracle databases, to VMware, to perhaps more forward-leaning in Kubernetes or containers. There's a wide range of applications that existing enterprises have that you all need to accommodate in a cloud-style automation on one single platform, on one single foundation. So for people who have these needs, who want to bridge the existing traditional architecture at enterprise speeds and enterprise control, but with a cloud-like automation for primary data, we are the right platform for those guys. Any cloud at scale across just about any platform and just about any hardware vendor. What that means to the customer is that they have choice. And choice is probably one of the key things to ultimately get to good economics. So they can pick just about any hardware vendor. Actually, hang on. So what this choice means for hardware, for the hardware side, for the server side, is that we support a wide range of hardware vendors, including Dell, Hewlett-Packard, Fujitsu, Cisco, Supermicro, and we're adding more as we speak. Not only does it mean this only for hardware vendors, it also means it for the media you can put in there. You know, an all-flash array, it simply becomes an application, a technology node in this data continuum that we can create. A hybrid flash array, another technology node in a whole data continuum that we can create, okay? So what that means for customers is that they don't have to decide upfront anymore what kind of storage, what kind of data platform they want to buy for the next 5 years, and then live with it among all the changes that can happen in those 5 years. What that really means is that they can buy what they need today, and as again the hardware changes, the hardware evolves, or their application changes, the application mix changes, they can just add to it whatever they need at whatever time they need it. So another important aspect of this is that we understand what the applications want. Applications know best what they want, and we understand what they want. And we take those individual application requirements and we translate them then continuously optimizing onto the hardware capabilities. Okay? So when we qualify hardware vendors, we don't only qualify them, we actually quantify them, because we understand in detail their performance capabilities, their reliability capabilities, their hardware capabilities, and we match them dynamically in a self-optimizing system to the application requirements all the time, across multiple servers, across multiple media, across the data center, and across multiple data centers. Okay. Really two aspects. One, again, is the ability that we engineered from ground up to actually extract the hardware performance. We designed Datera, the Datera data plane, from ground up for high performance and low latency. We wrote the entire data path down to the devices. It's not a Linux standard. We contributed to Linux. But on top of that, even on the scale out side, we then don't lose performance. We have a unique, at least outside of one very large cloud vendor that I'm aware of, a unique lockless coherency protocol, distributed coherency protocol, that makes sure all this performance that you extract locally on every node doesn't get lost as you go across nodes. That's one part. Now, you have to orchestrate all this performance. You have to actually deliver this frictionless performance to each application individually. And the second part there is that we have a policy engine, a policy broker, that allows to delineate the hardware capabilities from the application requirements. And because we have this layer of abstraction in there, in which we optimize between both, you can change the underlying hardware, and we understand those capabilities and can adapt how applications use it all the time. So those are the two factors. Number one, extract the hardware capabilities on the data path, and secondly, and then orchestrate it across the data center.
To want to use it.
Well, I like what a lot of our customers say, and quite frankly, with a very delighted, we hear this a lot of time, it just works. Now, that's a lot easier said than done, as we all understand, and it really means a lot of things that need to come together. It means that provisioning of new hardware or new applications is painless, it's easy, it's frictionless, it's very fast. Again, why do we do this? Why can we do this? Because we understand the hardware capabilities, we understand the application requirements, everything else in the middle is automated. Okay, so single-click deployment. But it doesn't stop there. When you then start operating, it's zero-touch operations because the system understands, again, hardware capabilities, application requirements, and continuously optimizes between the two. You don't have to change anything anymore. As things change, we adapt automatically. Okay, we move data across the data center. It's data mobility driven, again, by these application requirements. So, you know, I talked about obsolescence cycles. Every time in 3 or 5 years when your traditional array becomes obsolete, you have a forklift day where you need to lift the data out of this array and actually move it into other arrays, and there's now whole teams that do nothing than that, okay? Data migration, live data migration, without any application disruption is an innate ability of our system. We move data all the time, again, between servers, media, even between multiple sites, based on the current operating conditions in the data center or for the applications. This whole array of capabilities makes the delivery of infrastructure seamless, automatic, and continuous. And that's what customers like. They just don't have to worry about it anymore. They don't worry about the infrastructure and the physical hardware. They can articulate their requirements, and the hardware gets delivered. The storage and data management gets delivered as a service continuously at their fingertips, so to speak. And that's what they really like about this, the simplicity. It just works. So the sales model is a mix between direct, it's a pretty sophisticated customers, of course, customers who build clouds at scale, and increasingly as well together with partners, some of them being those hardware vendors, Hewlett-Packard, Fujitsu, others coming online as we speak. And so it's really a mix between those two. As we scale the company, of course, we see more and more of this business becoming indirect rather than being direct. And at the same time, the market is maturing, the market is coming our way. People now understand more the need for clouds outside of the Super 7, the big public clouds, and how to build them. And so that's creating a perfect storm between the customers becoming ready, the partners becoming ready, and us obviously having the technology matured over the last couple of years. Our strategy for the next 12 months is to bring 2 OEM partners or reseller partners, large reseller partners, fully online and really start scaling together with them on their hardware platforms with our software. So we're at a point now where we're really starting to scale. We see it on the customer side. We closed a Fortune 11 global travel fair aggregator. We are closing one of the top 5 airlines. We're seeing customers at massive scale now coming online across multiple regions, predominantly still in the US, but significant business also in Europe now, and some business starting really in Asia. So as we're getting ready to scale, of course, we're also going to start to scale our go-to-market. And that go-to-market is evolving from predominantly direct, which what we've done the last 2 years as we matured the technology, to now increasingly working with resellers, even very large OEM partners on their hardware platforms that they will drive with our software and us together into the market in a joint go-to-market movement. Sorry, I'm going to have to say the last thing one more time, sorry. And as we're getting ready to scale from a customer side, we are also now transitioning from a direct model more and more to a partner and reseller and OEM-based go-to-market model with particularly 2 very large OEMs engaging on their hardware platforms and going to market together with us. We are now at a point where we're really starting to see significant growth. We are now serving Fortune 50 customers, including one of the leading global travel fair aggregators, one of the leading global airlines, one of the leading global, let's say this one more time, hang on, telco. I need to say telco as well. Okay, so let me say this one more time, okay? As we've been maturing the technology over the last 2 years, we're now seeing very large customers, Jesus. As we've been maturing the technology over the last 2 years, we're now serving very large customers, global customers. For example, one of the leading Fortune 20 travel fair aggregators, one of the top 5 airlines, one of the top telcos here in the US, and across multiple regions, also in Europe increasingly, and we're starting to actually serve customers in Asia as well. As we start serving customers with a global footprint, we also obviously need to work with partners that have an equally global footprint. And we now have a number of OEMs actually starting to look to partner with us, using their hardware, bundling it as overall solutions, and deliver it to those global customers together with us, with a global footprint. So we are really seeing our business model accelerating, growing dramatically, both on the customer front, but also on partners as we're going global. So most of our customers have been trying the public cloud and experienced the efficiency, simplicity, and ease of consumption that the public cloud really offered. It's a very sweet drug. It's very easy to get into it, but unfortunately it gets expensive very quickly. And it gets prohibitively expensive. And the other problem with the public cloud typically is that these customers have a range of enterprise primary grade workloads that they've been running for many, many years. And they just can't lift them into the cloud. They want the simplicity and efficiency and ease of consumption that the public cloud offers, but they want enterprise performance and control. And the only reason to actually bridge both of those worlds is actually to bring the cloud to them. And so when the customers, they come to us when they say like, okay, we've been planning our cloud strategy for the last 2 years. We've been trying to figure out how to move our data center into the cloud. Turns out we can't. Can you help us instead bring the cloud to us? And that's what we're seeing more and more. That's when they come to us. We bring the cloud, we bring the efficiency, economics, the ease of consumption, the cloud-like operational model, the way the cloud works, we bring that to enterprise-grade workloads on the data side. And that's why customers love us. How do these customers typically look like? How do these customers typically look like? What's characterizing those customers? They operate IT at a reasonable scale. That could be VMware farms, that could be container, that could be even bare metal, that could be database farms at a reasonable scale. Frankly, forward-looking, it could be Kubernetes, it could be Mesosphere, it could be Docker. We're even seeing some OpenStack and some CloudStack. So anyone who operates their IT at a reasonable scale, who operates a cloud at some scale, is a perfect customer for us because we take care of the data for them across the data center and across multiple data centers. And then that works in conjunction with the other environments that take care of the compute. Again, VMware or a Kubernetes, or maybe an OpenStack or a Cloud Stack, or any one of these other environments. And so we are perfectly complementary to those on the data side. It comes down to really just a few key factors, actually. They need enterprise performance. That's why they use traditional arrays. But they can't afford to operate them manually anymore. So they want the enterprise performance, but they want the cloud-like simplicity and operations. That's really the basic need they're looking for. They're looking for something that can actually deliver them what they're used to in their enterprise, in their data center, but with cloud style, but what they're seeing in the public cloud from a simplicity, efficiency, and ease of operations. What that usually translates to is what we can solve is any application, again, let me think about this for a moment. So our solution gives customers a data services platform on which they can run their enterprise IT at scale. They can run their databases on it, they can run their traditional applications on it, they can run new applications on it, they can run them in a range of environments from VMware all the way to Kubernetes, even bare metal. We give them the choice and the flexibility to run all of those applications on one single unified data services platform that again delivers enterprise performance combined with cloud-like simplicity of operations. We're probably seeing the biggest revolution, I would almost call it, in IT since the last 20 years. Not only are customers looking to modernize their data infrastructure, they're also fundamentally changing their networks from fixed static networks to software-defined networks. They're fundamentally changing the way applications are being deployed, run, and delivered. Again, all orchestrated with very smart software that is increasingly similar to what an Amazon or an Google would do. So they're really looking top-down at the entire stack to turn data centers from rigid infrastructure-centric operations to a software-defined data center. They're looking top-down holistically to transform their data centers from They're looking top-down holistically to transfer their data centers from rigid infrastructure-centric data centers to service-oriented software-defined data centers. It's a whole different new way to deliver infrastructure. That's what these guys are looking for. So the uniqueness of our platform comes really on two levels. It is the ability to orchestrate data across any conceivable hardware, which is continuously expanding, and to add data services on top of this data mobility, this mobile data, that's also extensible. What we have today is block with multiple protocols. So we are serving primary workloads on par with the performance that you experience at the very top end of existing customer traditional arrays. We're now adding object, especially for cloud-native workloads, IoT workloads, big data workloads that are consuming more and more object type kind of data. And we're obviously going to add other data services that could include file databases and other things that make things really interesting. It's a great time to be in this market as customers are looking to re-platform to cloud and they're realizing that public cloud isn't necessarily the answer. They're looking to bring that kind of style of operations to themselves. And that's what our solution does for them. It's a huge market. It's easily a $70 billion market in transition. And the server-based part of it is growing at 35% CAGR every single year. And that's what we're seeing. And so we're seeing that momentum now coming to us. And it's just fun. It's just fun to be in this market. It's a great time to be in this market. Customers are experiencing and appreciating the simplicity of the public cloud. but they need it for their own enterprises. And so what that means is we're seeing a $70 billion market in transition. That market is transitioning to server-based solutions. It's basically servers with smart software, deliver a cloud experience on top of them, and that part is growing at 35% every single year. It goes back to what we've seen before. Nothing is as powerful as an idea whose time has come. The time for the cloud idea has come, and it's just fun to be in that market. Yeah, we are working with thought leaders, global thought leaders, both on the customer side and on our partner side. Examples are really the kind of types on the customer side who realize they have to re-platform to cloud. They can't use public cloud for whatever reasons. Could be economics, could be control, it could be performance, it could be the sensitivity of their data. There's a litany of reasons why it's not an option. There's Fortune 20 companies that are transitioning to our data management platform, to our data services platform. At the same time, we're seeing equally large partners that are now coming online and realizing the cloud is much bigger than just a public cloud. They realize that there's an opportunity for them to bring the same experience, infrastructure as a service, to their own customers as well. And we are a critical part of that by providing the data layer. So we're seeing really a massive ecosystem developing that so we're really seeing a massive ecosystem developing among thought leaders on the customer side and thought leaders on the IT side that is all culminating in actually bringing this opportunity to market. We're working with thought leaders all across the application stack. That includes partners like VMware, it includes partners like Docker, like Kubernetes, and many more partners on the orchestration side. It includes very forward-looking key applications in this stack, like distributed databases. MongoDB is an example. Cassandra is an example. Let me actually think, who else are we? What other name? I know we have Mongo. Do you know anyone else?
Actually, I do. I'm going to help you out with that.
Okay, thank you. Actually, that'd be great. Sorry, I'm trying to remember who we have. We're working with, or maybe I should even say, we're bringing together thought leaders across the entire stack. It really includes database vendors like Oracle, like SAP HANA. It includes orchestration frameworks like VMware, Docker, Kubernetes. It includes server vendors, Hewlett-Packard, Fujitsu, Cisco, and it goes down to media thought leaders like Intel and Samsung that are delivering next generation media that, again, we can extract the capabilities of that and deliver it to next generation applications. Because of our application-driven nature, because we understand what applications want, we're working with thought leaders across the entire stack. We're working with database vendors like Oracle and SAP HANA. We're working with orchestration framework vendors like VMware, Mesosphere, Docker, Kubernetes. We're working with hardware, global hardware vendors, server vendors like Hewlett-Packard, Fujitsu, Cisco. And of course, we're working with media vendors like Intel and Samsung, whose media capabilities, given our application-driven nature, we can deliver precisely to every application individually. Because of our application-driven nature, because we understand every individual application and its requirements, we work with thought leaders across the stack. That includes database vendors like Oracle and SAP HANA. It includes orchestration framework vendors like VMware, Mesosphere, Docker, Kubernetes. It includes global server and hardware vendors like Hewlett-Packard, Cisco, and Fujitsu. And it includes media thought leaders like Intel and Samsung, because we can deliver the capabilities of their next generation media individually, precisely to every single application.